الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله العظيم فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Alhamdulillah, it is with great privilege Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has selected us once again to sit in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and learn about things which are pleasing to Him generally. One thing that is important that I mention and speak about is sometimes we can get caught up in the trap or the web of shaitan, and he sometimes creates a cloud of confusion, a cloud of doubt amongst ourselves, within ourselves, in terms of our mind, our heart, our soul. And we can get very easily caught out in terms of our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how we progress. You see, when this cloud of doubt and confusion is formed, sometimes due to this cloud and doubt, we will never progress to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of this doubt and cloud. If this doubt and cloud is not removed, or it is not... Now remember, if you look into the physical world, a cloud is formed through when the rain evaporates into the skies. The rain evaporates into the skies. Similarly, an example can be given to us is that what happens is the clouds are formed through our sin. The sin is evaporating, and due to our own sinning, we are not allowing this rain to shed, to fall, in order to purify ourselves from our mistakes, from our shortcomings, from our lack of amal, from our lack of askar, missing prayer, missing fasts, not following the path correctly, sometimes can have the opposite effect because it is evaporated from the cloud of doubt and sin has been created and formed. But one thing we have not done correctly is made the effort in mujahidah. Now, one of our teachings of Sayyidina Abdul Aziz al-Dabbagh rahimahullah ta'ala, when they talk about mujahidah, about effort, about striving in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have given us a criteria of three. A criteria of three. Sometimes a person may ask, I am striving in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I am fasting, I am praying, I am making effort, but why is there no improvement in me? Why is there no improvement? Why am I still struggling? Why can I not purify my eyes, for example? Why can I not purify my heart? Why am I still not traversing the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why is it that little things affect me? Why is it that things bother me? One of the primary reasons is that we have not understood the concept of mujahidah. You hear this word, strive and struggle in the way of your Lord, do jihad in the way of your Lord. Jihad, obviously we have spoke about this concept in the past. But to simplify it, jihad comes from the word mujahidah, meaning to strive and struggle in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if this means that I am fighting against my own self, fighting in war, fighting in wherever, obviously those times have gone where Muslims would fight for valid reason. Now the real fight is within me and you. It's within me and you. Now this criteria our master Sayyidina Abdul Aziz al-Dabbagh has given to us is the first thing, the criteria of mujahidah is at-tawakkul, the reliance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, relying upon Him. Now you have seen this great path. This path has been laid out in front of you, mountain diagrams, this picture, beautiful picture to depict things and give you an understanding, visual learner, audible learner, however you may learn, it's there for you to understand. Now the first thing is a person needs to do is rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Reliance. You cannot do anything without tawakkul. Trust and reliance. The second thing they mention is irada, the intention. The intention. For example, we'll use this gathering. Some people might think, I'll be feeling a bit lazy today. That's the time. When you don't want to do something, that's the time to do it. That's the time to make the effort. If you have this mentality that, oh, I don't feel like it, then really who is your ma'bud? It's feeling. It's how I feel, how I'm in the mood, how I approach things. When really it should be purely upon the intention that only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This irada has to be made, intention. Now sometimes people think, I have to make intention every time. The perfect one is in the month of Ramadan. Sometimes our nafs will deceive us, and obviously shaitan is locked away, but our nafs will deceive us. This happens commonly. Now, it's the month of Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, it's not obviously not today, but today is Rajab. When the month of Ramadan does come, or I'm fasting, maybe 4 or 5 days in. And on the 4th or 5th day, you forget to wake up for Sahri. You forget to wake up. Now what do? Do you just miss the fast? No, you don't just miss the fast. Only invalid reason. You should make an intention that before even Ramadan comes, I will fast the entirety of the month, the full month. And that is sufficient even if you do miss Sahri. It's sufficient. That intention itself is sufficient for you to keep the fast on the day. Sometimes a person who sleeps through Sahri, really is not recommended because you should pray Fajr. A person just getting up and eating, going back to bed, this is not a fast. This is just as though they're starving themselves. Now, in this month of Rajab, which is ascribed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and is associated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why are we talking about tawakkul and reliance in Him? Because you cannot achieve, you cannot progress on this path without His reliance. The second thing is irada, intention. Now I have the reliance, I have the intention. What is the last thing? Effort. The effort. Look how simply our Mashayikh, Sayyidina Abdul Aziz Dabbagh, has put this teaching for us. Those three, for example, if you wanted to make, I don't know, something that has 3 ingredients, we can't say cereal, or we'll say, give me something that has 3 ingredients. Haji Sahab, anything coming to your mind? Shazo, give me one thing with 3 ingredients. It's not my strong point as well, that's why I'm struggling. Tea, oh mashallah, that's a good one. Okay, he said the tea, jar or anything like this. First thing is, person he has the cup, yes, make sure it's not broken. Then what comes next, he might put, people do it in different ways, but the way I know is you put the tea bag in, and then you put the boiling water in, and then maybe if you like sugar, or you put the milk in. These are 3 simple ingredients just for us, so there's not deficiency in that, in the way you actually drink or consume this. So your actions will not be deformed. You see, sometimes is that we miss this out. And like it's mentioned here by our master Sayyidina Abdul Qadir al-Gilani rahmatullahi alayhi, mentioned, when a servant of the Lord is tested with a trial, his first impulse is to cope with it by himself. That is the first natural reaction of human being. Something happens, like I don't know, I might cut myself, I might fall. The first reaction is for me, my response, how I need to cope with it in myself. Who can take a guess at the second one? Now, what the Mashayikh actually, we won't have any guesses. We'd rather just go through together. If his own efforts get him nowhere, he looks for help from other human beings. Now, where you are limited, you start to seek in others' limitation. It's just a natural human thing. The Mashayikh are mentioning it, That, for example, if I have maybe £10 in my bank account and I want to buy something for £15, obviously the first thing to do is work and get that. What if I want it now and today, but I only have £10? I need £15. Now I'm going to go to Zishan and say, oh, have you got a fiver? Can I borrow a fiver of you? Can I borrow money of you? But that's my approach, to seek that in another person, another human being. So what people want is power, important officials, men of influence, means or medical expert where diseases and physical ailments are involved. So it's showing that where we are limited in terms of power, our authority, our influence, the medical experts, for example, someone who works in for example, physical and spiritual ailments, we want to be close to that person. Why? Because they will have cure for us whenever we get sick. That is why the people who don't really have much to offer in this dunya, people don't spend time with them. People don't want to be associated with them. Oh, he's a nobody, he's not, he doesn't know anything. Why am I going to be associated with him? He might have such proximity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But because of our mindset and our societal norms that we have created, we distance ourselves from that person. It causes fitna. Oh, he has nothing to offer, let's move away from him. I have more power than him. I am more authoritative than him. I have more money than him. I have more wealth than him. That is why you see gangs are formed. Gangs and these people who are in fraud and in money laundering and drugs, etc., they all are on the same page because they want to be associated. No one has someone who might be a spy or a snitch in these kind of groups and gangs. What the Mashaykh are saying is that we will, if we cannot manage it ourselves, then we resort to other human beings. And then what they're saying is that if he obtains no relief in this, if there is nothing else he cannot obtain, only at that time to his Lord through prayers of supplication, humble entreaty and offering of praise. Only then, and this is what someone, I remember one of the Mashaykh mentioned, is that the worst type of person is that person who only makes dua when he is in need. Not because of, or only now I'm in test and trouble, now I'll supplicate to you, now I remember you, Allah. Or someone close to him passes away, now I remember you, Ya Allah. When really he should be remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even more. And then when that time comes, when someone falls ill and someone passes, something happens, then he should have that mentality and approach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, get more closer to him. And what do? He offers supplication. And he becomes humble in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now that I've lost my power, now that I've lost my authority, now that I am nothing, I cannot benefit from a person now. I cannot benefit myself. Now he turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why has he left himself in this situation? Because of lack of understanding, lack of clarity, lack of approach, and incorrect approach. And what's happened is he has now ultimately deformed his relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then it says, the Mashaykh mentioned, as long as he finds it possible to manage on his own, he will not turn to other people, and while human help is available, he will not turn to the Creator. This is the teaching of Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullahi alayhi. They are saying, furthermore, rid myself. I am nothing. Leave this attitude of ana khair, I am better. Leave it alone. Do not entertain this thought. Do not even touch this thought that I am better. Even if you are an expert in your field, act like you do not know anything. Act like you know nothing. Do not be offended by correction. Do not be offended by criticism. Apologize when you wrong someone. Help those who are needy. And also rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So make an intention that I will rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I have my intention to be a better person, to improve, and also to put in the effort. Because many of us, we find is that we have the reliance, we have the irada, but no effort. Or sometimes it's the effort and intention, but no reliance. Or it's just the effort and no intention. Every single one of your actions should be consisting of one thing: Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rida and closeness, His pleasure and closeness. What else are you seeking? This is why sometimes you hear that we talk about seekers. Seeking what? There are people seeking financial freedom. There are people seeking great jobs. There are people seeking marriage. People seeking children. People seeking all kinds of things. But the mashayikh, when they say seeker, they are referring to the person who seeks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the midst of this cloud of sin and doubt. Within, amongst all of this, are you clear and in certainty where you are looking and what you are searching for? And then what the mashayikh further says, having finally applied to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, only to find no help forthcoming from the Creator, he throws himself down in His presence, increasingly begging, pleading, entreating, offering praise and submitting his needs in fear and hope. But the Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now renders him incapable of supplication, and he ignores him until he has reached the end of his tether. So what they are saying is that if you have put yourself in this boat where only at that time where you need and where no one else has, everyone has turned their back upon you, then you turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I ignore his supplication and renders him unworthy and invalid. Why is it that now at the peak of difficulty we have embarked this path? The mountain, the site of the mountain has been formed. We have seen the peak. We have understood that now is the peak of the mountain. And then we straight away say, I've got here, and never ever praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to get you there. Now you have seen this mountain peak, and you say, now I know the summit is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His closeness. Meaning in a metaphorical sense, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not at any peak as such. But when we say the peak of the mountain, meaning the close proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from time and space. So anyway, he now sees it and he has no help. He has no one to hold his hand. No one, he has run out, his shoes have worn out. His body is now torn to pieces. The human beings that were so praiseful and guide. How many times the Haji Sahib tell us praise is about, I think they mentioned it a few times, but in recent weeks they have mentioned it about how praise actually works in a negative effect. They will praise you and praise you and praise you. When you get to that summit, you turn back and say, where's the people now? They'll say, mashallah, you're doing well, you're pious and righteous, you're good, you're a good man, you got a full sunnah, you're wearing the full sunnah, you got a beard, you got this, you got that. And when you turn your back, they're nowhere to be seen. And only at that time you turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When really, those people should have never been included in this path. They are just like encouraging you and in some way benefiting you a little bit. But the ultimate thing, the ultimate benefit is not in them. No matter how much you search and seek, you will never find that. And what they say, and then they further mention is that only then does he experience the effect of the Lord's decree and the actions of his work. And so the servant passes beyond material needs and behavior to survive the spirit alone. Since now he sees nothing but the truth, the al-haq. So, like they say, the subject, the matter, the context matter is on tried and tested. On the seeker being tried and tested in terms of the difficulty you faced. Every single one of you right now, if I ask every person one by one, tell me a time where you had a challenge and you overcame it. There was a challenge presented to you, like you had an exam and you didn't revise, or you had like a test or whatever. Something was presented to you and you overcame that struggle and that difficulty. Or university, college, school, etc., these kind of tests in terms of our audience. Everyone has different tests. A person may have been unjustly wronged and been punished for this. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying is that only this time will you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's decree and his true action upward towards you. The truth will present itself. If that when and if that truth is presented, if at that moment you still reject or you cannot see, then it is though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your heart has been locked and sealed. And this is very dangerous position to be in. Your heart has been sealed and locked in terms of how I can get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When this time comes, that is why we have our honorable USTAADH and Mashayikh to help us overcome these difficulties, because they have the experience and they have the know-how how to push us and assist us through this. Maybe they will hold our hands. They might not say they're holding their hand, but the Mashayikh will help and hold our hands through these difficulties. Whatever we have. However, our reaction and of gratitude, of shukr, reliance and humility towards them and submission to them should never decrease. It should only increase. Because they are the door to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are the door to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anyone can turn around and say to me, I know the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I know A to Z on how to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then khair, go and do it yourself and guide others. If you have the tools and the guidance and the wisdom to guide others, then you go and do it. I will remind you of a story which will slightly relate. When Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu was a young child, they were doing the ablution, the wudu, in the wudu khana. And on the left of them they saw an old man. And they were doing a mistake on some organ, I think it was the arms. And they were washing the arms, but they were doing it incorrectly, like meaning not up to the elbow. And Sayyidina Imam Hassan and Hussein at a young age, radiallahu anhu, they had such wisdom how they went about going. They didn't say, oh, Buzurgain, or Ya elder, you need to correct yourself. Because they thought we are young, how can we make this correct? So what they did was, Imam Hussein and Imam Hassan, they started shouting and saying, oh, this is how you do this, meaning telling each other. And the Buzurg overheard it. He heard them saying this. And then he thought, oh, these are the blessed grandchildren of the Prophet ﷺ, and he started to do his wudu correctly. They did never say it to him. They did never say to him, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. Because some people cannot accept it. If you tell them directly, some people cannot tolerate it. The tolerance level is low. Whereas we need to be such people, we can tolerate criticism, because our affairs do not lie with that person. His praise and criticism will never harm and affect you. Never. Only if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is displeased with you, that is it. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with you, that is it. These are the important matters that we need to consider. Inshallah, now we will move on to the zikr. Isha Salah is at 8:15. Inshallah, it gives time for us to then do the azan as well. Inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa atubu ilayk.